This is Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Sr., and we have a loaded show coming your way. We have a Darius Slay update. Could he come back to the Eagles in free agency at the right number? We have a Brandon Graham injury update. What a dog he is. He tore his tricep again in the Super Bowl. And should Philadelphia reunite Vic Fangio with Dre'Mont Jones after he was let go by the Seattle Seahawks? Let's begin on the Darius Slay front. He said on Wednesday, March 5th, while on FS1, that he's not ruling out a return to the Eagles, that he would like to stay in Philadelphia to finish his career with the Birds if the money is right. Now, obviously, the Eagles released him on Monday. They designated him as a post-June 1 cut. The move saves Philadelphia $4+ million in cap space. What's also key here is that Slay was due a roster bonus of $14.5 million if he was on the roster. Slay also said, no bad blood with Philadelphia. I understand what happens after you win a Super Bowl, trying to manage the salary cap. Just the ultimate leader, team captain, and a guy who understands how the NFL world goes. He even saw that the writing was on the wall, because going into the NFC Championship game, he said publicly, I'm preparing as if this could be my last game at Lincoln Financial Field because I know what my cap situation is with the Eagles. I know where this team is going. I know that they might try to get younger, and I might not be a part of this Eagles team in 2025. Now, him returning was always a possibility. This also happened after the 2022 season. Remember how the Eagles were going to let Darius Slay go, and then they were able to bring him back? But obviously the question now, with a little bit of a salary cap crunch for Philadelphia, how much is he looking for, and how much are the Eagles willing to pay him? He wants to play one more year. He's coming off a good year. He's still playing well. He had a lot of pass breakups in the regular season, and then his Pro Football Focus numbers jumped about 10 points from the regular season to the playoffs. And all of these numbers in the regular season were pretty good according to Pro Football Focus. Overall grade of 67.6. Coverage grade in the green as well at 68.9. In the playoffs, 77.1 overall grade. A coverage grade in the playoffs of 78.9. He was a legitimate lockdown guy on the outside in the postseason. And in the regular season, he was very steady and helped to usher in Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. Leadership, culture, being a veteran who helps young players, that all matters. And in the regular season, Slay still has the speed, he has the technique, he has the explosion and instincts to come through some pass breakups. He had 12 in the regular season. That was fourth among all cornerbacks in the NFL. I don't think that the Eagles are just going to be able to bring him back for the vet min. Slay is still playing at a really high level. Teams have an emphasis of trying to build their teams with quality corner play, and look at the resume that Slay's been able to put together. I don't think he's going to play his final year in the NFL for chump change. He's a Super Bowl champion. He's a first-team All-Pro in 2017, a 6-time Pro Bowler, interception co-leader during that first-team All-Pro season, an Eagles team captain, and he's a borderline Hall of Famer. A.J. Brown even said it. Now, do I think that Darius Slay is going to become a top 10 highest paid cornerback in the NFL? No, I don't. And the market for corners has really skyrocketed too over the last couple of years. Jalen Ramsey is making $24.10 million. Patrick Surtain, after signing that deal, coming off those Defensive Player of the Year honors, great year for him in 2024. He's making $24 million. Jair Alexander, 21 even. The Packers might release him. They are fielding trade calls on him right now. AJ Terrell, 20 and a quarter. Denzel Ward, 20.1. Marshawn Lattimore, 19.5. A.J. Brown is his daddy. Marlon Humphrey, 19.5. Trayvon Diggs at 19.4. He's barely played over the last couple of years since signing that deal. You have Tyson Campbell at 19.13. And then L'Jarius Sneed at 19.10. So I don't think Slay is going to be in this grouping. But as we look ahead to the future, Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, they might. And as the NFL salary cap goes up, player salaries will also increase, and so the cornerback market will continue to be robust. If the Eagles do bring Slay back, what it would do for this Eagles defense in 2025 is give them secondary continuity. Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Reed Blankenship, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, all under contract. If Slay comes back, your entire starting secondary from the Super Bowl 59 victorious team would be intact once again for this upcoming season. I'm also a proponent and a fan of keeping Cooper DeJean in the slot. And why is that? When the Eagles took him and moved up in the second round with Washington to draft him out of Iowa, they took him thinking that he can play outside corner. He did a lot of that at Iowa and was primarily an outside guy. Before they drafted him, when I was scouting him, I had said, I kind of like DeJean in that slot nickel role because you can continue to use him as that versatile chess piece who doesn't have to be limited to playing on the outside. You can use him all around the field. As a blitzer, hybrid linebacker, and then in the slot, he can guard wide receivers in the flat, across the middle. He can guard tight ends. He can cover running backs on some of those wheel routes. And so I think that he worked so well there and played so well there. I'd like to keep him in the slot if you can bring Slay back. If you don't bring Slay back, you still have Eli Ricks and Keely Ringo who you can go to. If you do bring Slay back, you still have really elite depth there with Ricks and Ringo still under contract. Here's what Darius Slay had to say about being released. He said, "It is a part of the business, and I'm not hurt about it. I'm not sad about it. This is what I signed up for. I knew I gave that team everything I had, gave that organization everything I had. So it's always a possibility of your boy coming back. This time I'm just thankful I could get ahead of free agency if I find me a good destination for myself. But hopefully we'll see how the Eagles do. If the Eagles do something nice, they know I'd love to be back. They know that." It sounds like Darius Slay wants to get compensated, and he deserves to be fairly compensated. And maybe he takes a little bit of a hometown discount to come back to the Eagles, or at least a familiarity discount to come back to the Eagles. But if they severely underpay him, there are going to be other teams like the Lions, like the Ravens, both Super Bowl contending teams in need of a corner, who would welcome to have Slay back for Detroit or bring him in if you're Baltimore. What do you want to do? You're in the shoes of general manager Howie Roseman. Do you want Slay back? Type B for back or Y for youth. More to get to here on the show, but first, Eagles Super Bowl merchandise is available thanks to our friends at Fanatics. We've been telling you about these great deals over the last few weeks since the Eagles were victorious in Super Bowl 59. You can find your gear right now at chatsports.com/EaglesSB. That's chatsports.com/EaglesSB. Shirts, hats, hoodies, jerseys, polos, other stuff that you can put in your man cave or your woman cave. We'll put that link down below in the show notes and attached to the pinned comment of today's Philadelphia Eagles Now. And we appreciate Fanatics for partnering with us here on the program. How about this story? This is wild. Brandon Graham is a warrior. He was in his 15th season. He tore his triceps in Week 12 against the Rams. Somehow had a miraculous recovery, came back for Super Bowl 59. We saw an image of him with a huge brace on his arm that he injured at a Sixers game recently. And I was thinking, did he re-tear his triceps? Well, according to Derek Gunn, formerly of Comcast Sportsnet and NBC Sports Philadelphia, they should have never let him go, Graham re-tore his triceps against Kansas City, and he has already had another surgery. In talking with him in the lead up to the Super Bowl, you had a thought that he knew there was a chance at a re-tear, but all he wanted to do was to be able to come back, play in that game against Kansas City, make an impact, and have an opportunity to become one of the few players in the history of Philadelphia sports to win multiple championships and one of a grouping of Eagles to win 2 Lombardi trophies. Brandon Graham, Lane Johnson, Jake Elliott, Rick Lovato, the only players in the history of the Eagles to win 2 Super Bowls. And BG, who knows if he comes back in 2025? If that was it, what a career he had. Number 1 in games played in Eagles history. Number 3 in sacks behind Reggie White and Trent Cole. And just one of the greatest leaders that Philadelphia sports has ever seen. Both Graham and Nolan Smith, at that edge rusher spot, by the way, tore their triceps in Super Bowl 59. Nolan Smith expected to be back by training camp. If Graham comes back, hopefully that's the case for him. If he rides off into the sunset, what a career. But the Eagles certainly got banged up in that game. Brandon Graham needed surgery on his triceps. Nolan Smith did as well. Cam Jurgens had a back procedure. And then Landon Dickerson, he needed surgery as well. That's the cost of playing football. Also want to talk about this. Could the Eagles sign Dre'Mont Jones in free agency? An intriguing player because he has familiarity with Fangio. He can play defensive tackle. He can play defensive end. And if the Eagles lose Josh Sweat and Milton Williams in free agency, this could be a pretty affordable option for a player who Fangio knows, who's played very well throughout his career, to come to the Eagles. He was released by the Seahawks. I'm really not sure what Seattle is doing. They released Tyler Lockett. They released a couple of other starters, including Dre'Mont Jones. DK Metcalf has requested a trade. Geno Smith's going into the final year of his deal. So I'm not sure what Seattle is doing. But among the flurry of moves that they made, Jones was released. He was a third-round pick by Vic Fangio while with the Denver Broncos. He signed a 3-year, $51.5 million contract with Seattle. Primarily under Fangio, Fangio used him as a defensive tackle. He played a lot of defensive end with Seattle, and he was a little bit disappointing as a defensive end. But he's still only 28 years old with a lot of rotational upside. Here are his numbers in 2024. He had 28 tackles, 7 TFLs, 4 sacks, 13 quarterback hits, and a fumble forced. And his numbers the last 4 years. In 2021 with Denver, 5.5 sacks, 11 quarterback hits. The following season with Denver in 2022, 6.5 sacks, 10 quarterback hits. And then he goes to Seattle, only made it 2 years through that deal, 4.5 sacks in 2023, 4 sacks in 2024. I think that the Eagles would be able to maximize a player like that. Also, Clint Hurt, the Eagles defensive line coach, coached Dre'Mont Jones in 2023 with the Seahawks. So familiarity there on this Eagles coaching staff as well. Be sure to give me a follow on X and Instagram in addition to all of the long-form content that I give you right here on Eagles Now. I talk Eagles all the time on my social media pages, so I'll see you over there.